Every summer, our raspberry plants produce a ton of raspberries, and we eat a bunch, we freeze a bunch, and we give a lot away to neighbors. But this year, because we have a freeze dryer, we're also freeze drying raspberries. So let me show you how we can freeze dry raspberries. You can freeze them beforehand or just throw them in the freeze dryer and let it do its magic. And let me show you how we do it.
First, you're going to take your clean, dry raspberries and put them on your freeze dryer trays that either have parchment paper or a silicone mat on them. You can either take them and put them directly into your freeze dryer and run them on a normal freeze dryer cycle, or you can take the trays and put them in your freezer for about 24 hours to shorten the time your freeze dryer runs. I decided to put the trays in the freezer, and so you can see that these are now frozen raspberries. But before you add them to the freeze dryer, you're going to want to turn it on and allow the shelf temperature to cool. Before turning your freeze dryer on, you're going to make sure that all the valves are closed. So this is the vacuum valve and it is closed. Here's the drain valve, it is also closed. And then also check that the demister valve is closed as well. These are the settings that I use on my Stay Fresh freeze dryer. First, I click freeze drying and then frozen food, and then I click setting. In the settings, I click the number for the final dry hours, and I like to increase that to 48 hours just to make sure that it doesn't stop drying in the middle of the night. Now click enter, and then if all these settings look good for you, then you can go ahead and click back and you're ready to click start. Now the freeze dryer is cooling, and as you can see that the temperature is 66 degrees for the shelf temperature. I'm going to go ahead and wait until the shelf temperature is at least -5 degrees or lower, and once your freeze dryer has reached the right temperatures, you can take your frozen raspberries straight out of the freezer, open the chamber door. You don't have to worry about opening any of the valves, and you're going to go ahead and add those frozen raspberries into your freeze dryer and close the chamber door. Again, you may want to just double check to make sure all your valves are closed, and they should be, and then you're going to go ahead and click food in chamber. At that point, the freeze dryer is going to continue to run and take all the moisture out of the food. After the freeze dryer does the drying time, it goes to final drying time, and this is a great time for you also to add additional hours. To add additional drying time, you're going to click INC, which means increase, and then you can add hours to your existing hours. So here I'm adding 20 hours, and then I click enter, and then on the top you can see that the final dry time has increased to 54 hours. When you're ready to check your raspberries to see if they're done drying, you can pause your final drying by clicking final drying. Then it's going to ask if you want to pause, click yes. You're going to open the vacuum valve and then open your chamber, and then you can pull the trays out and check the raspberries. The best way to check if they're dry is by weighing each individual tray, put them back into the freeze dryer, and run the freeze dryer for an additional 4 hours, and then weigh them again. If the weight did not change, then you know that your raspberries are done drying. But if the weight decreased, then you're going to want to put them back in the freeze dryer and run it for an additional 4 hours or more, and keep checking the weights to make sure that they are no longer changing. To continue the drying process, you're going to make sure that all the valves are closed, and here we did open the vacuum valve, so I'm going to go ahead and close it, and I'm going to click final drying. Make sure that everything is closed and ready to go, and then I'm going to go ahead and click yes. The machine has started drying again. I also want to show you what it looks like if you allow your Stay Fresh freeze dryer to go to completion, as you can see on the screen here. You can open your vacuum valve and check your raspberries, weigh them, or whatever else you need to do. But if you think they're not finished drying, you can immediately put them back into the chamber, close the vacuum valve, and then add more drying time by clicking INC to add time to the machine. Here I'm adding 20 hours. And I'm clicking enter, and you can see 20 hours has been added to the final dry time up at the top. But it hasn't started yet, so you're going to go ahead and click final drying, and then make sure everything is closed and click yes. And that's how you add final drying time after the machine's finished. Now, when all your raspberries are fully dry and you've weighed them and you know the moisture is out, you can take the raspberries and package them. Here I'm putting them in mason jars because I know we're going to be using these fairly quickly, probably within a month or two, and I like to package them in mason jars to make it easier to access them. One of the best things you can buy is this vacuum sealer for mason jars. It works with both wide mouth and regular mouth mason jars, and it will take the extra air out of the jars, and so the items in the jar will stay crisp. For even shorter storage and to take them on the go, I love putting freeze-dried fruit in these little Mylar bags. These are definitely not great for long-term storage, but you can seal them with an impulse sealer, and then you can take them to school, sports, etc. Now that the freeze-dried raspberries are done, you can hear them in the jar. They really are like so light and crispy, and the vacuum sealer does such a great job keeping these fresh. If we're gonna snack on them in the next few months, they're perfectly fine in the mason jars. So let's go ahead and give them a little taste. I don't know if you can hear. They really are like nice and crispy with a very, very light crunch. And the flavor is like so powerful because it really tastes very similar to like fresh raspberries and with a little bit of a crispy texture. These are absolutely delicious. My kids are gonna love them and I can't wait to bake with them as well. If you'd like to read this blog post about how to freeze dry raspberries, it'll be in the link in the description below. And you can also print it out as well. And make sure you subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.